And welcome into the latest edition of Tom SOX Today here at Crutchfield Park. It is an absolutely gorgeous day as we can see the kids camp taking full effect here. I'm joined with head coach Kory Koehler today. Coach, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well, thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Of course, anytime. Now, you guys just got off a game against Harrisonburg yesterday, and we'll touch on that in a second. But before we talk about tonight's matchup against Harrisonburg, let's jump back to the Strasburg game that we saw a couple days ago. You guys go into this game. Strasburg's one of the best teams in the league. They're batting well. They're pitching well. They're really having a dominant season. Now, it's a really interesting game also because you're only going to see them one time this season for the doubleheader. What was your mentality going into this game coaching-wise?
So, for me, it's obviously my first year in the Valley, and I'm not fully aware of the rivalry that Strasburg and Charlottesville have had in the past, but I was definitely informed on what it would be like to play Strasburg and what it meant for this community and this organization. So, we went into it full tilt and wanted to win 2 games and get back, more so for the team to get back into winning ways because we weren't playing very good baseball going into that. So we looked forward to that game. We looked forward to that series and wanted to put a stamp on, making sure that we are thought of as one of the better teams in the Valley League.
And what you mentioned with the winning ways, you definitely guys got back to it. First game, you guys won 6-4. Wyatt Langford had a home run and honestly almost put a second one over the fence. Mackenzie Pate had 3 stolen bases. And in the second game, you follow that up even more dominantly, 9-2. Dylan Janik with an absolutely stellar performance, 5 innings pitched, 10 strikeouts. Garrett Spikes also stepped up for a batter. One of the stats that David found for me that I found was really intriguing was Strasburg left 20 combined runners on base in those 2 games. You guys really handled them, and like I said, they were one of the better teams in the league. How important was it for you guys to go out against a better opponent when you guys had kind of been sliding a bit over the recent games to really go out and have a dominant 2-win performance in a doubleheader?
Yeah, I think it was really important. And like I said, this is a huge kind of stretch going into the end of the first half, into the second half. 12 games in 12 days, and we knew we had one off day in between, so Strasburg gave us the opportunity to kind of reset, go into the little day off and enjoy some time, maybe float in the river or do some other things, but making sure that we were reset and refocused for the second half, and I think it paid off. Like you said, Wyatt Langford really swinging the bat well lately. I think Dylan Janik threw 13 straight sliders at one point, struck out 4 out of 5 guys, and was just outstanding. And I think that sets the tone for what we did yesterday with Harrisonburg, who was second in our division and setting up again for another great competition with Bob Weiss and his guys tonight.
Now, you mentioned Harrisonburg. You've seen a lot of Stanton and a lot of Covington early on in the season. Now you're starting to get more of the Waynesboro and the Harrisonburg aspect to the schedule. And you play Harrisonburg in Harrisonburg yesterday. You guys go in there to defeat them 8-4. You're now 2-1 against them on the season. Cal Stark had a home run and a really dominant, again, pitching performance. 13 combined strikeouts from 4 Tom Sox pitchers. But also in the same regard, you had 10 hits and 7 drawn walks. You guys really went and dominated the game from the get-go. I was there for the first couple innings. You guys scored 7 runs in the first 3 innings, really hammered them from the start. How important was it for you guys to go out and jump out to an early lead early on against the Harrisonburg Turks?
Well, we've been a really good middle of the inning type team throughout this early part of the season, and we tried to focus on scoring early and scoring often and trying to win every inning instead of the middle innings. And I think the guys have responded. We got some guys that are suffering through some nicks and dings and had to get back healthy, and I think they are. You see that happening. Candelaria had a little bit of a strained hamstring, and he was able to come in the second half of the game last night, play really well. And Garrett Giebel has been beaten up and tattered all early summer for us, but he's starting to feel better. And those guys at the top of our lineup really kind of set the table. It'll be nice to get Pierce Bennett back here pretty soon and get him back in the lineup. But being able to get Jack Hurley and some other guys in here in town is going to help for the second half. And as you saw last night, Angelo Cabral is going to be really big for us on the mound as well.
Now, like we talked about with that Harrison, it was really important for you guys to go out and set that tone in a divisional matchup. You now have just no days off and have to come back and play Harrisonburg at home here tonight at 7 p.m. It is Military Appreciation Night. Harrisonburg currently sits at 10-9 on the season. They're 3.5 games back of the Tom Sox. Currently on a 1-game losing streak, courtesy of Charlottesville. And they're going to be going up against the Tom Sox, needing to get another win against this team to pull ahead in that divisional race. Logan McNeely is currently the best batter, having .353 as his average. He had 1 hit and 1 run yesterday against the Tom Sox. You guys were really able to keep them at bay. Something interesting that David also found as well, he was telling me about earlier, the Tom Sox have stolen home 5 times this season, including twice yesterday night, which is in 20 games in this season. In the previous 5 seasons, they just stolen home 1 time. So how important have the steals been? Because we've seen you and Stanton really rack up the steals early on in the season. How important is it for you guys to get those extra bases and really put guys in scoring position?
Well, I'm a junior college coach, and so we like to put a lot of pressure on people at our level. In our philosophy, pressure built, it bursts pipes. And the more pressure you can put on a defense, especially mostly young kids that are playing in this league from Power 5 schools or Division I baseball, they don't get that extra time of development to understand the intricacies of the game, and base running is a big part of it. So, I've worked with these guys and taught them how to steal bases and what to, do on timing plays and so on and so forth. And it's a big part of our game. If we can steal as many bags as possible and do it in a way that can really put pressure on the pitchers and make them concentrate on base runners and not the hitters, they start elevating fastballs. You start running balls out of the park, as you saw with Cal Stark last night. He was able to get a fastball up because they were worried about the guys on base, and he's able to drive it out of the yard.
And like I mentioned, you guys had 7 stolen bases yesterday night, so it'll be interesting to see how the team is able to rack up steals tonight in this matchup. Does your mindset change a little bit knowing that either A, you're going up against a team for the second night in a row, B, it's a divisional opponent, C, the weather is still going to be hot? Like, how much do different outside factors kind of influence your game plan, or is it pretty much the same kind of mindset going into each matchup?
No, I think we're going to go ahead and approach the game the same way. We're going to go ahead and approach every opponent like they're the best opponent on our schedule. And, if we can jump out early and try and stay in the game with our guys on the mound, we have an opportunity to win a ball game. This is a big game tonight. They're 3.5 out, but that's not a lot of games when you put into perspective. We got a lot of games in a short amount of time, and we're going to take some knocks through this time. And so we want to get all the wins we can get early when the guys are still fresh before they start wearing down. We don't know what other people's schedules are like, when they have off days built in, and so on and so forth. So we have to approach it like it's playoff baseball through this stretch. And the Waynesboro series coming up, tomorrow is big as well.
And like you mentioned, you don't know what kind of schedules people are going to have. The Tom Sox do have a more difficult schedule when you look ahead to their next upcoming games. Starting yesterday in Harrisonburg, they have 10 games in 9 days. And then after today, they're going to have 3 games in 4 days against the Waynesboro Generals, including a doubleheader in Percival on Saturday. So it'll be really interesting to see how the team responds with this long stretch of games. But, Coach, you have a lot of different guys from a lot of different schools coming into different environments, coming in with different mindsets, wanting to get different things out of the summer experience. How do you balance all these schools, rivalries, opponents? How do you balance all these different competing aspects on a roster?
Well, there's 2 aspects to that. First of all, I have an outstanding staff. John Maley does a great job and really has a good repertoire with his pitchers. And Seth Dvorak does a great job with the hitters. And, I'm kind of there just to be the filler and help guys and help them along with how to help the players and kind of adjust. The other thing is you want them to have fun. You get into some leagues where you have young coaches coaching these leagues, and they're always on their tails and screaming and hollering and yelling, and it gets boring through the summer for these guys. And they're just like, you know what, I'm done. And you start seeing kids leave and start seeing a lot of turnover. We like to keep it fun. We like to keep the guys active and let them know they're part of this, and so I think that's a big aspect of it. The other thing is these kids all played select ball together growing up, so they might be from Virginia Tech or Auburn or Georgia or San Jack or wherever, but in reality they've known each other for a very long time. And it's kind of funny, you got guys from all over the country that you don't think, how are they going to fit in? Well, they fit in because they played select ball and travel ball with each other growing up, so it's pretty special.
And you talk about a lot of moving pieces with this roster, like guys like Wyatt Langford coming in later in this season. Some guys were here from the start. Some guys are just making their appearances we saw yesterday. So with a lot of guys moving and going, Alex Ayala going, Carlos Rodriguez going, with a lot of moving pieces on this roster, how do you maintain that winning culture and kind of keep the team afloat when people are coming and going pretty easily?
I think that just comes with experience. You're able to maintain your roster based on guys' performance. And so if guys are performing and they're having a good time, they'll continue to perform. If they're not performing, they're not having a good time, you got to shuffle them out and get somebody in here that will. Because ultimately, these are athletes, and athletes want to do one thing, and that's win. And if they're not winning and they're not having a good time, they'll look other ways for other places, just take the rest of the summer off or whatever it is. But these guys are having a good time. They enjoy winning, and I think that's why you see the separation happening already from the teams at the bottom of the league versus the teams at the top of the league. If you look at the North, teams in the top of the league they continue to win, and the teams at the bottom of the league continue to struggle. So I think that's the same on our side as well. So you keep them having fun, and you keep them wanting to be here, and good things will happen.
Yeah, the Tom Sox are currently 14-6 and on a 3-game winning streak, but there have been some struggles throughout this season. In your opinion, what has been the biggest thing this team has had to overcome early on?
The injuries. The injuries have been a setback. Our pitching has been fantastic all summer, and they've given us an opportunity to win every single game. But when you have bad injuries that are making people play out of position, you got guys playing positions they've never played before to fill in for other guys. Errors are going to happen. Mistakes are going to happen. Guys with limited at-bats through the spring have carried over into the summer. And so the longer they get to play the positions they're used to and accustomed to, this season's going to be really fun going forward.
Now, as we hit tonight, it'll be the 21st game of the season, which means it'll be the midway point of this very young season for the Tom Sox. What, as of today, do you think is the biggest thing the team needs to work on going forward if they want to make that push and compete for the VBL championship?
I think we saw it last night, just consistency throughout the lineup. I think we were 10 or 12 hits last night. We haven't done that very often this year. Having longer at-bats, accepting walks instead of swinging at 2-0 change-ups and getting back into the counts for the opponent's pitching staff. Having good, consistent at-bats is the big thing, and we're continuing to get better in that respect. So I think it's only upward for the Sox.
Now, we can go through all the stats and all the numbers and all that kind of stuff, but ultimately, like you mentioned, this summer is supposed to be fun for the kids. It's supposed to be a great environment. We see the fans, we see the mascot, we see everybody having fun out here. Ultimately, for you as a coach, getting to see these guys grow and develop, and we see the kids camp out there, what's the best part about this summer experience for you? What's the most rewarding thing for you as a coach?
Yeah, for me, it's being able to see the development of the guys and them getting ready for their fall seasons at whatever respective school they're going to. I talked to Carl Nunmaker at the University of Auburn this morning. He's checking in on his players, and we had a good conversation about Cole Foster. Cole Foster came in early and struggled with the bat. And it was a byproduct of him being a true freshman at Auburn, not having a lot of at-bats. But he's played almost every single inning for us. I think I've pulled him out of a game once or twice just to give him some rest, and those at-bats are going to carry over to the fall and allow him to compete for a job at Auburn. And Non-Maker was excited about that, and I'm excited about it. That's the biggest thing, is watching these kids develop and be able to be a factor for their programs that they're playing at.
Now, hopefully, Coach, as we look out there and see the kids camp, hopefully we'll get to see a couple of those guys suit up and get to take the place of some current Tom Sox roster. But, Coach, you have an absolutely loaded team, and the team's doing really well. They're getting back to their winning ways, currently on a 3-game win streak, and they look to keep it going again tonight against Harrisonburg, one of the few teams that has an all-time series lead against the Tom Sox. But it'll be back here at Crutchfield Park. Just 9 home games remaining after the season. Coach, thanks so much for coming on the podcast.
Yeah, appreciate it, buddy. Thank you.
And, of course, and all games this season are free, courtesy of Carter Bank and Trust. So come on out to Crutchfield Park, support the team as they look to make it 4 games in a row as opposed to 3. So for David Argo and the entire media staff, I'm Eric Fenstermaker. Thank you so much for watching. We hope to see you at the ballpark tonight.
Go Sox.